Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor Shushmita Basu Majumdar from University of Calcutta, Department of Ancient Indian History and Culture. Today in this course, Indian Culture, in numismatics, I'll be teaching you Kushan coins. So the module name is Kushan coins. Now let's see who the Kushans were and when did they begin issuing their coinage. The Kushans were a section of the nomadic Yuezhi tribe from Chinese Central Asia. They traversed the steppes and carved out an empire which at its zenith embraced Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, parts of southern Silk Road, Pakistan and vast North Indian plains up to Mathura, if not beyond. Now, the Kushan chronology is a problem and there is a debate among scholars. So, for Kushan chronology, we have two different views at the moment. Though there are many, but two are very prominent one. One is the conventional view and the other one is the recent view. So, the first view is based on the beginning of the era which begins in CE 78, which is also known as the Shaka era. But the second one rests on another era which is now popularly known as the Kushan era, and the first date of commencement of this Kushan era has been fixed at 127 CE. So these two are the opinions which actually coincide with the year 1 of Kanishka. Now let us see what are the major markers for the reconstruction of Kushan chronology. So for reconstructing Kushan chronology, we have to depend at the moment on four major markers. The first very important evidence is the Rabatak inscription of the time of Kanishka. The second is of course the numismatic source or the numismatic sequence, that is which ruler comes after whom. That's also a kind of fixing a chronology. And then the third are the dated inscriptions in Kharoshti and Brahmi. The fourth one is also very important, is the Yavana Jataka. The Kushan era, not the same with Shaka era, is actually proved on the basis of the Yavana Jataka. So if we know these four sources, then only we can just fix the chronology of the Kushans. Now let us see the chronology of the Kushans. You can see a table and on the left side the two columns indicate the conventional form of chronology, and on the right side you have the new chronology. You can see that both do not coincide actually, because the first ruler of the Kushans is considered as Heraios or Maios, but we will see that his coins are a little problematic. So actually the coins begin with Kujula cadphises. Here you see, according to the chronology given on the left, we find that it's taken on the basis of 78 AD as the first date of Kanishka. So here you have the date, that is year 1 to 24 of Kanishka, coinciding with 78 CE, 201 CE. Whereas in the second or the more recent chronology, you will find Kanishka from 127 to 150 CE. So you have to follow the dates given here in the two chronologies to understand things. Now when you look at this ruler Vashishka, it is very important because in the first chronology, the known dates of Vashishka are 20, 22 and 28, which according to 78 AD actually, or 78 CE, Common Era, it coincides with 98, 100 and 106. So according to this chronology, they take Vashishka as a joint ruler or conjoint ruler with Kanishka, whereas the second chronological phase does not have Vashishka here. They place Vashishka much later. Here immediately after Kanishka first, Huvishka has been placed. So when we will discuss the coins, we will come to this issue, and similarly in the first chronology, the known dates of Kanishka the second is year 41, which coincides with 119 CE. So he is also considered as a conjoint ruler with Huvishka, which according to the second, he is not a conjoint ruler at all. So his known dates are 4 to 20, where we will find Vasudeva, Kanishka III and Vasudeva II. So according to both the chronologies, we find Vasudeva II as the last ruler of the Kushan mainstream dynasty. Now about the early Kushans, among the 5 Yabgus, that is who came from Chinese Central Asia, the Yuechis, where they are known as the Yuechis. Among them, the Kushans came to Bactria. The earliest known Kushan ruler, as I have already mentioned, is Heraios or Maios, who is known from his coins. Early rulers issued coins only in copper. Vimacatphises is the first ruler to have issued coins in gold. The next Yuechi ruler after Heraios or Maios is Kujalakatphises. He is also mentioned in Chinese sources, and he almost subjugated the 4 other Yuechi Yabgus. Kujala is possibly the same as Prince Kappa, figuring in the Takhte Bahi inscription, and the same also occurs on his coins. Now coming to the ruler who was previous to Kujalakatphises, as I had mentioned, there is a problem. His name is Heraios or Maios. Heraios' coinage is almost contemporary to Kujala's coins. So here lies the issue. His coins imitated the devices of the coins of Gondophares and Jihoniko. Copper coins of Heraios types are inscribed in Kharoshti, that is the script, with the name and the titles of Kujalakatphises. So this is another problem with the Heraios series. Now let us see the Heraios series. Here you have the name of Kujalakatphises as well as you have it inscribed as Heraios. So when you see the Kharoshti legend on these, you can read Maharayasa, Rayati Rayasa, Devaputra, Kuyulo, Kata, Kapasa. So here you find the name of Kujalakatphises. Now Kujalakatphises, with his coins there is a major change in the coinage tradition, and here we find that on both the obverse and the reverse, the legend bore the name of Kujalakatphises. So this is the major change, that with the coming of the coins of Kujalakatphises, we find his name on the obverse as well as on the reverse. Kujala imitated the diverse coin types which were circulating in the northwestern part of the subcontinent, and whatever Kujala was seeing as in transaction in that area, he was trying to imitate all those. Like he imitated the coin types of the Indo-Greeks, he imitated the coin types of the Indo-Parthians, the Shakas, and even he imitated the coin type of the Romans, that is, the ruler was Augustus, whose coins he had imitated. And he also imitated the coins of Khatrapa Jihoniko and issued the bull on one side and double humped camel, that is the Bactrian camel type coinage, which he had imitated from Jihoniko. Kujala also imitated the gold coins of Augustus, as I have mentioned, and these coins bear on the obverse the name of Kujala in Greek, and on the reverse is the figure of the seated king, and the legend reads Khusanasa, Yavugasa, Kuyala, Kafasasa, Sachadramatitasa. He also issued the bust and horseman type with circular Greek legend in copper. So now we find that all the coins of Kujula Cadphises, all of them were mostly imitations of the coins circulating, and they were all in copper, irrespective of the fact whether they are in silver or they are in gold, but he imitated them in copper. This is a very important issue about Kujula Cadphises. Now when you see the coin types, particularly you see the Harmaios type from Kabul and Gandhar, which he had imitated, and then you also find on the rivers Heracles, and you can see all the types displayed here. Kujula Cadphises also issued a coin type on which you find Zeus on one side, and it reads Kuyulo Kadafasasa Kusanasa, and on the other you find a person who is in meditation pose. So either of them can be the rivers, but mostly it is taken that it is a Zeus reverse. And the coins which Kujula imitated Augustus, you can see here that the bust of Augustus is on the obverse, and on the reverse is the seated deity. Now the bull and camel type of Kujula Cadphises, which he had imitated, and the camel is a double humped Bactrian camel, as I had already explained. Now after Kujula Cadphises, there was a problem, there was a gap, and immediately the ruler who was placed in the conventional chronology was Vima Cadphises, because both had the title Cadphises. But with the discovery of the Ravatak inscription, it was finally solved that between Kujula Cadphises and Vima Cadphises there is another ruler whose name is Vima Taktu. So the coins also bear the name Vimataktu. He is also considered the same as Sadakshana by some of the scholars. Vimataktu is thus a new addition to the Kushana family. His position is between Kujula Cadphises and Vima Cadphises. Let us see the coins of Vimataktu. Here I should point out that some of his coins also bear the title Soter Megas. So initially Soter Megas was actually attributed to some other ruler, but now we can see that the monogram which occurs on the coins of Soter Megas is a three-pronged symbol, and it is also found on the coins of Vimataktu. So here Vimataktu issued the existing coin types. At the same time, he also added new coin types like the Shiva and Ardaksho type. Let us now see the next ruler, who is Vima Cadphises. So after Vimataktu followed the ruler Vima Cadphises, and he is the person who revolutionized the whole coinage of the Kushanas. He was the first to issue gold coins in large amount. So Vima was the person who issued gold and copper, and there was a lot of variety in the coinage of Vima, which we will explore later on. But before that, let us see what are the most important things which we have to learn about Vima Cadphises. Number one, he revolutionized the coinage tradition and introduced gold coins extensively. He issued coins in three denominations: double dinar, dinar and quarter dinar. He also introduced the motif Shiva reclining on bull, which became a very popular device among the Kushanas. So these bear the bust or the full portrait of the king on the obverse, and on the reverse Shiva reclining on a bull. So it's popularly known as the Shivanandi device. Now let us see the coins of Vima Cadphises. Here you can see that the gold dinaras had on the obverse Vima on an elephant, and on the reverse it is Shivanandi. And on another coin you find Vima rising from the clouds, Vima on the mountain, Vima on a chariot. So it's the ruler on the chariot type, ruler on the mountains, ruler on the clouds, and ruler on the elephant. But on the reverse we often find the Shivanandi type, and some of the coins particularly the chariot type, we find on the rivers standing Shiva. So here we do not find Nandi, but to the left we can see the Nandi Pada symbol, and the Kushan monogram is very important. In the half dinaras we find king in a vinto. So there you find that the king is in a frame, and on the reverse, since it's a very small half dinar, on the reverse you find instead of Shivanandi, the Trishula, that is the attribute of Shiva, has been depicted. Now, Vima Cadphises issued double dinar coins, and in the double dinar coins on the reverse we find the motif Shivanandi, but on the obverse you have 4 different devices. First is Vima seated on a throne, second is Vima on the frame, which we had seen in the previous one as a small quarter dinar. So in the same here you have Vima in a frame, that is the bust of Vima on a frame, and king rising from clouds and king on the mountains. So it's the bust of Vima on the clouds and bust of Vima on the mountains. So these are the types of which reverse is Shivanandi. Now Vima copper coins are very interesting because for the first times on the Kushan coins we find the full portrait of the king. So now the king is now with a large Kushan cap with boots and standing wearing a long gown, and he is sacrificing at an altar and offering oblations on the fire altar. So this is the full portraiture of Vima on the copper coins, and of course on the reverse we find the Shiva reclining on his bull. So these are the copper coin types of Vima which you have seen. After Vima, his successor was Kanishka, whom according to the conventional chronology we have placed in 78 CE, and according to the new chronology which Harry Falk has actually supported, it's the Kushan era beginning from 127 CE, and this is the year 1 of Kanishka. So Kanishka also introduced certain major changes in the Kushan numismatics. He stopped the use of kharoshti on the bilingual coins and retained only Greek legend, that is Basilios, Basilion, Kanishka. On the reverse on these coins issued by Kanishka, we find the presence of varied gods and goddesses. He also introduced the label inscriptions on the reverse, which are very important. So here each and every god and goddesses who are mentioned have been labeled. So it is very easy to identify the iconography of these particular gods and goddesses. I'll come to this portion of iconography towards the end of my lecture, but it is a very important fact which we have to remember. So each deity's name has been mentioned in Greek on the coins of Kanishka. On the obverse of the coins of Kanishka, you find the same kind of portrait which you had seen on the coins of Vima Cadphises. But these coins, but this particular device was seen on the coins which were in copper, but now you find them on the gold coins, and the legend is in Greek, Basilios, Basilion, Kanishka, and on the rivers you can see multiple deities on coins, and at times you find the Greek sun god Helios, at times you find the Persian sun god, that is Miro, and at times you find other gods like Mao, who is the moon god, you find Helios, you find Nana Shao, the earth goddess, you find Ardoksho and others. So Kanishka also introduced another major change in his coinage. Instead of the Greek legend, he only used the Greek script and changed the language of the legend, that is the inscription on the coin, to Bactrian. So for the first time in the Kushan coinage, we are getting Bactrian language and Greek script. So Basileos, Basilion is not used anymore, and instead of that, Kanishka uses Shao Nano Shao Kanishki Kushano. So Shao Nano Shao means the same as Basileos, Basilion, but now there is a major change in the language. It's no more Greek, it is now Bactrian. And on the reverse, you continuously find the same deities occurring, that is different deities occurring on the reverse, and each of the deity has been labeled. So you find Acho, Mao, Miro, Oisho, and many more on the reverse of the coins of Kanishka. You can see the coins here one by one. Now we come to the copper coins of Kanishka. On the coins of Kanishka, you have the portrait of the king, as you had seen on the coins of Vimakatephys, king sacrificing at an altar and holding a standard, and on the reverse you have once again the same pattern. So you have the continuation of the Bactrian legend on the copper coins of Kanishka, and even Shiva can be seen in four-handed form. And again continuation of the Bactrian legend on the coins of Kanishka, and there are three sizes: the large, the medium, and the small. So you can also find in copper another new variety where Kanishka is seen as an enthroned figure. So he is seated on a throne. This is a new variety which he had introduced, and the reverse continues as the deity and again the labeled deity. After Kanishka, we have Huvishka, who is his successor. Huvishka succeeded Kanishka first, who ruled for more than 3 decades. Several inscriptions of his reign have come to light from Mathura, but none to the east of that city. His control over the areas to the west of Kabul are attested by the Wardak inscription, that is year 51. His Bactrian records from Surkotal leave no room for doubt about the firm Kushan hold over Afghanistan. Let us now see the coins of Huvishka. Here you find different varieties, among which again you find the same variety issued by Vimakatephys, that is king on elephant and king seated cross-legged. And on the reverse you have multiplicity of deities that we had seen in the coins of Kanishka. So in the coins of Huvishka you also find his bust and Huvishka holding a flower or an object in his hand. And on the reverse you have several deities who have been displayed here on the coins. You can see Mao, you can see Miro, and other deities depicted on the coins of Huvishka. Another very new variety is the 3 deities who have been portrayed together in the coins. Here is a coin with Huvishka to left and holding a flower on the obverse. This is his bust, and on the reverse is Ardoksho. This is a very common type of gold coin issued by Huvishka. Among the other common types of Huvishka's gold coins are Huvishka on one side and on the reverse, that is his bust on the obverse, and on the reverse is Mahasena. Mahasena is a Indian deity that is the same as Kartika. And on the reverse you also get Manao Bago, that is the deity who is a human, so a human form of a deity. So the king himself has been deified almost. Among Huvishka's other common gold coin types are those with Mao on the reverse. Mao is the moon god, and you can see the crescent which has been depicted near his neck, and Huvishka has been depicted on the obverse, and it's a very common type, and this has been found from all over the territory. Among the common type of gold coins you also find Miro. Miro is the same as Mihira, that is the sun god, and you find this god radiating, and on the left you can see that the inscription or the label inscription reads in Greek Miru. And on the right you have the four-pronged symbol, that's a Kushan Tamga or the monogram. And here you can see Nana Shao, that is Nana, goddess Nana on the reverse, and Huvishka's most common type of gold coin device on the obverse. This is a very important coin where you see a gold coin of Huvishka with the similar common type on the obverse, but on the reverse you find the depiction of three gods and goddesses, and these three are in a kind of an architectural component which is like a temple or like a place where they have been actually settled, and they are named as Mahasena, Skandakumar and Bizaga. So Mahasena is the same as Kartika, Skandakumar and Vishakha. So these are the three deities who have been depicted here, but on some other coins you also find Skandakumar and Bizaga. So there you do not find Mahasena. Here you can see on one side it's written Skandakumar and on the other side it's inscribed Bizago, and in between the two deities the Kushan monogram has been placed, that is the four-pronged symbol. Now you also have on the reverse furrow. The same obverse type continues, whereas the deity changes to furrow on these coins. And among the double deities, like you have seen the previous one, Skandakumar Bizago, you also have Shiva and Uma, that is the consort of Shiva, being portrayed here, and on the coin the legend comes as Oesho and Ommo, that is Shiva and Uma. And similarly in double portraiture types like Oesho and Uma, you also have sun and moon, that is Mao and Miro. So Huvishka started depicting coinages, the coin device where double deities have been portrayed. This is again a kind of a feature which is typical to Huvishka. But something very interesting is that some coins are there which are debased and re-engraved obverses, and on the reverse you have the river god Oxus. So Oxus, remembering Oxus from where they had actually come, and this coin type was actually issued. One very unique coin type of Huvishka is Huvishka with flaming shoulders and a different kind of a dress. Here you can see the flames on the obverse of the deity, of the device, and the circular legend. So this type also has different reverses which you can see here, and on each of the device you find the presence of the Kushan monogram. Huvishka's Miro type was also issued, that is flaming shoulders on one side and Miro on the other. This has also been issued by him, and similar flaming shoulder also has Nana here. So you can see each deity who has been shown here separately. There is another deity who has been depicted with a winged deity who is called Wanindo. So you can see on this particular coin Wanindo standing with a noose on one hand, and on the other side you can see the wings. This is a coin with Huvishka on the obverse, flaming shoulder with furrow. So different reverses and the flaming shoulder is the type which has been described right now, and among them you also get a warrior god who is Shaurya. So you can see the multiplicity of deities being depicted, and this shows the kind of the cosmopolitan character of the Kushan Empire. So wherever they were passing through, they had collected all the cultural elements from there and they had depicted them on the coinage. And this is a very unique coin which you are seeing, and here you get a trinity. So you get the three-headed god standing, and you can also see the chakra on one side and the clear heads on the three heads on the of the deity here, and this is the trinity on the reverse of the coin of Huvishka. Another very interesting thing is that Huvishka also issued among the Indian deities and the Persian deities, he also depicted Ahura Mazda on his coins. So here is the coin with the depiction of Ahura Mazda on the reverse of the coins of Huvishka. Here on the obverse you find Huvishka is actually, there is a halo around the king. So among the copper coin types of Huvishka, there are only 3 dominant types, and they have been found from all over the Indian subcontinent, mainly the northern part of the Indian subcontinent. And the 3 types are very, very popular. The first one is the king on elephant type. The second one is king seated cross-legged, or the third type is king seated cross-legged, and the second one is king reclining on a couch, where you find one leg is being kept on the couch and the other leg is actually hanging. So if this is the second type, then the third type will be the king seated cross-legged. So his legs are actually crossed. So let us see these 3 coins with different multiple reverses. So this is the elephant rider type with different deities on the reverse. So the next one is the couch type, that is king reclining on a couch, where you see one leg which is up on the couch and the other leg is hanging down. And this is the third one, which has the king seated cross-legged. So here you can see Huvishka is sitting with his legs crossed, and you have multiple reverses. So all the common gods and goddesses have been depicted on the reverse. So Huvishka with elephant rider type, and on the reverse you have Heracles. So among Huvishka elephant rider type, on the reverse you have Ardaksho, Mao, Heracles and Pharaoh. You can see all the types on your screen at the moment. After Huvishka, there is a problem in the chronology, if you remember, which I had mentioned in the beginning. So after Huvishka, the old chronology places Vashishka, whereas the new chronology immediately places Vasudeva first, and this chronology was fixed by Gobel. Now let us come to the coins of Vasudeva first. So with Vasudeva, we come to a problem phase in the Kushan chronology. According to the old chronology, as we had seen, that after Huvishka, there is a ruler who has to be placed, that is Vashishka. But according to the new chronology of 127, Vasudeva first has been placed. So Vasudeva issued a lot of gold coins, and you see a change in the type of the device. So in the engraving pattern, there is a minor change, a very subtle change which can be noticed, and there are 3 phases which you can see on your screen. And what is very interesting is that you can even find out the mint. So on your left you can see the mint A, and on your right you can see the mint B. And this is again a very popular device which we had seen from the time of Bhima Cadphises. On the obverse, the king is sacrificing at an altar and holding a standard, and on the reverse we have Shivanandi type, which is again a very popular device. So these are the gold coins of Vasudeva first. Vasudeva first also issued a lot of copper coins. Here again you have the same device being imitated in copper. So it's the same device, king sacrificing at an altar and Shivanandi. The copper coins are a little cruder than his gold coins. Now after Vasudeva, we find again there is a chronological issue. So first was Kanishka first, then Huvishka, and then Vasudeva first. There are numerous Kushan kings who ruled after these 3. It is possible to track the evolution or typological progression of the Kushan gold coin devices by a careful study of the control marks and also a very critical die study. As I had shown that you can even see the mints on the coins. So by understanding the mints from which these were issued, by understanding the die marks properly, so a proper analytical die study, you can even see which ruler followed whom. So according to Gobel's opinion, whose catalogue still remains one of the best catalogues written on Kushan coins. After Vasudeva first, we can place Kanishka II, which has been suggested by Gobel. Gobel's catalogue on Kushan coins still remains one of the best catalogues till the further publications. So Gobel had suggested that the only one Vashishka to have issued coins actually followed a king who is Kanishka. So this Vashishka should be a successor of Kanishka and he should be followed by Vasudeva first. Thus Kanishka, this Kanishka has to be a Kanishka second. So there again is another Kanishka who has to be termed as Kanishka third. So this is the problem of Kushana chronology now, because we have multiple Kanishkas and multiple Vasudevas, 2 Vasudevas and 3 Kanishkas if not more. So Kanishka second actually followed Vasudeva first, and when you see the numismatic evidences, it is very distinct that this Kanishka issued coins after Vasudeva, because the typological progression of the coins or the evolution is very, very distinct. Here you can see all the coins of Kanishka II which have been issued in gold, and they have the same pattern, that is king sacrificing at an altar and Shivanandi type, and also king sacrificing at an altar and Ardaksho type. So these became the most popular types being issued by Kanishka II. So this Kanishka is definitely different from the Kanishka first and also different from the later Kanishka who is Kanishka third. So he can place this Kanishka II on or just after Vasudeva. Kanishka II's copper coins mainly had Ardaksha as the reverse and king sacrificing at an altar on the obverse. Now even the mints, as I had told, the mints can be actually identified. Here are a few examples of the mints which have been identified. Now let us come to the new chronology, where after Kanishka II we can place Vashishka, whom the first chronology had placed much earlier, but now we have to place according to 127 CE as the date 1 of Kanishka. They place Vashishka after Kanishka II. So here are the gold coins of Vashishka, and immediately you can find out that this coin type should come later and cannot be placed just after Huvishka. So here you have king sacrificing at an altar and Shivanandi type, and also king sacrificing at an altar on the obverse and Ardaksho on the reverse. So Ardaksho is sitting with a cornucopia, and this is very distinct, which continues even till the Guptas. So Kanishka III, let us come to the next ruler. Kanishka III can be linked with the Kanishka of the Kamra and the Ara inscriptions. Kamra mentions the birth of Vashishka's son, that is Kanishka, whereas Ara inscription mentions Kanishka as the son of Vashishka. So this Kanishka will be Kanishka III, that is these coins were issued by Kanishka III. And here again, if you notice the very subtle changes in the evolution pattern of the coin, you will immediately understand that these coins have to be placed much later, and this is the evolution pattern. On the obverse you have king sacrificing at an altar, and on the reverse obviously you have the two very popular types, Shivanandi type as well as Ardaksho. So after this we have the final ruler of this dynasty, who is Vasudeva II. Vasudeva II issued coins immediately after Vashishka at one mint, and at the other mint he issued coins immediately after Kanishka III. So this again can be a very important issue, but Looking from the numismatic point of view, this is a very important link which one has to follow. So, Vasudeva's coins, once again I explained that they were immediately issued after Vashishka from one mint, and from the other mint they were immediately issued after Kanishka III. So, the copper coins also follow this particular pattern. So, at one mint after Vashishka and the other mint after Kanishka III, with changes of issue marked by a gradual fall in the weight of the coins. So, this again can be a very important indicator in the evolution pattern or fixing up of the chronology. For the Kushans, numismatic evidences become a very important indicator. So, we cannot ignore the numismatic sources, but for understanding the numismatic sources, one has to go through a plethora of evidences which comes from literature, which comes from inscriptions, and the method should actually be a combined method. Until and unless we combine all the streams together and try to equate them on a common platform, it becomes very difficult. As we have already discussed about the chronology of the Kushans, which is actually a problematic factor, we find that both the chronologies, the conventional one as well as the new chronology, are not free from errors. So, in both the chronologies there are several errors, but they do not help us to come to a common platform and agree that this should be the final form of Kushan chronology. But one thing which is very important is the indication which the numismatic sources are giving. So, the numismatic sources actually help us in understanding which ruler should be placed after whom, because the coins follow a kind of a pattern which is called the typological progression. So, if one king is imitating the coin of another king, so the another king has to precede this particular king, or else he cannot imitate. So, the progression of this device has to be followed very carefully. At the same time, along with typological progression, one has to understand another very important factor in the Kushan chronology, and that is the numismatic evidence. What the evidences are suggesting, what the die studies are suggesting, what the mint patterns are suggesting, and also take into consideration the circulation pattern of each coin type in a region. And along with this, when we look at the inscriptions as corroborative sources and the literary sources also as corroborative sources, we come to a conclusive decision that there are a few things which have to be marked. Number one, that we have to insert in this chronological sequence Vimataktu, and this is a confirmed fact that between Kujala Cadphises and Vima Cadphises there is a ruler named Vimataktu for sure, and this was believed that these were two different families. One was the Cadphises group and another started with Kanishka. But now with the coming of the Rabatak inscriptions, things are absolutely clear that there is another ruler named Vimataktu. Now the coins bearing the title Sotermagus, which is actually taken as an epithet, that is the great general, has now been attributed some to Vimataktu. So, there is another issue which one has to keep in mind while studying Kushan coinage, and then the multiple Kanishkas and two Vasudevas. This is one issue, and the placement of Vashishka. This is another issue. So, one has to take into consideration the Yavana Jataka and its evidence very carefully. So, the evidences here become very important. With Vasudeva II's gold coins, as we were discussing, let us come back to Vasudeva II, where we have the Oesho and the Bull series. Actually, this Oesho and Bull series is the Shivanandi type, and the other one, as I had mentioned, is the Ardoxo series. So, later Kushans or the Kushana rulers start issuing the coins with these two motifs. So these two devices become the most important devices or the most popular devices among the Kushans. So it is only during the time of Kanishka and preceding him, of course, Vimakattaphisses. So Vimakattaphisses, Kanishka and Huvishka are the kings who were experimenting and who were actually using multiple deities. But later Kushans actually gradually shift to two deities. One is Shiva reclining on the bull and the other is Ardaksha. So this pattern also has to be kept in mind when one is actually fixing the chronology of the coins. And among Vasudeva II's copper coins also, we find that on the obverse you have the king, and at times this Trishula has also been depicted on the obverse, and on the reverse you find at times only the reverse monogram, and on the obverse of the four-pronged symbol monogram you find Vasu only written on it. So these coins which have on the obverse Vasu and on the reverse the monogram, that is a four-pronged Kushan symbol, have been attributed to Vasudeva II. And after Vasudeva II, we find the Sasanian conquest. According to the conventional chronology, they believe that the Kushans should end a little earlier because the Sassanids had actually conquered this part of the territory of the Kushans. But according to the 127 CE Kushana era chronology, it is believed that the Sassanids actually, the Sassanians occupied part of the Kushana territory, and in the rest like Punjab and other areas the Kushans were already ruling. So they feel that Kushans are contemporary, previous slide please. They feel that the Kushans were contemporary with the Sassanians. So the Sassanian conquest of the Kushan territory was gradual according to the second opinion, that is the 127 CE era opinion. So the Sassanian conquest of the Kushan territory was gradual. It was taking place between the reign of Kanishka and Vashishka. Sassanians partially occupied parts of the Kushan territory, and some Kushan kings continued to rule in Punjab. So this is the opinion of the second chronological or the latest chronological genre. Then towards the end of the Kushan coinage, we find a few coins where we find legends like Magra, Mahi, Kipunadha, Shaka. So these are towards just the fag end of the Kushans, and we cannot really identify these rulers. But what is very interesting is that the Allahabad pillar inscription of Samudragupta mentions Daivaputra Shahi Shahanu Shahi Shaka Murunda. So this Shaka, is he the same as the Shaka on the coins of the Kushanas? Here you see on several gold coins with Ardaksha as the reverse device and the king sacrificing at an altar as the obverse device, which was a very common motif, that the legend occurs as Shaka, and this Sha is the cerebral Shaka. So this may be or may not be the same as the Daivaputra Shahi Shahanu Shahi Shaka Murunda mentioned in the Allahabad pillared inscription of Samudragupta. So with this we come to the last phase of the Kushan rule, but Shivanandi has been dropped and Ardaksha becomes the last motif to be continued on the Kushan coinage, and the same motif of the Ardaksha is also seen depicted on the Gupta coins, which will be issued by the Gupta kings, particularly beginning with Samudragupta. And the Kedarite Huns who took over the Kushano-Sasanian kingdom is the major event which is happening now. Now, to wind up with the concluding remarks, we have to look at the religious scenario which is reflected on the Kushan coins. As I have already explained that in the beginning phase you find multiple deities being depicted on these coins. Particularly when you look at the sun god, you find the Greek sun god, you find the Persian sun god. So, the same god depicted from different traditions. This, as I have already explained, depicts or indicates the cosmopolitan character of the Kushan Empire. But religious iconography was in a transitional phase during this time, and it was actually developing, or we can see an evolutionary phase of the iconography. So, things were actually being made up, or they were in transitional phase of evolution. And during the reign of the Kushans, hence we find several innovations and unusual iconographic forms on their coinage. The use of multiple deities of different religious cults and pantheons reflect the cosmopolitan character of the Kushan Empire. Under the Kushans, the numismatic art reached a level of excellence, and the coins were actual pieces of art, and it reached the peak during the reign of Kanishka and Huvishka, as we have already seen. So, between the two major empires, the Mauryas and the Guptas, the Kushans were no less powerful, and the reverse device of the Gupta coins, as I have already mentioned, is a kind of a continuity link with the Kushanas. And you can see that Ardaksha is being depicted on the coins of the last Kushanas, and this continued on the coins of the Guptas. So, we have to look at the Kushan coins in a broader framework and in a large canvas where there are multiple factors which one has to take into consideration, which has been already mentioned during this lecture. Hope now you have learnt a little about the Kushans and their coinages, which actually revolutionized the coinage tradition in India. And the Kushans revolutionized the Indian coinage tradition with the beginning of large scale gold coinages and copper coinage tradition, and the best specimens of numismatic art can be seen among the Kushans. So, with the coming of the Kushans, we find a new kind of a numismatic tradition which is coming up in the Indian subcontinent. And some of the scholars actually thought that the Roman coins, the Roman gold coins, were melted away by the Kushans to actually make their coinages. But this has been actually analyzed and shown that the composition of the Roman coins and the composition of the Kushan gold coins are not the same. So, the Roman coins were not the bullion used to make the Kushan coinages. So, these two are different. But before ending, there is a very important point which has to be discussed. The Kushan gold coins were called dinaras, and this term dinara comes from the Roman coins, but not the Roman gold coins. The Roman silver coins were called dinaras. So, the term is denarius. So, from the Roman silver coins, the Kushanas got the term for their gold coinage, which is again interesting. And as I had mentioned, that Kujala Cadphises had actually imitated the coins of the Roman Emperor Augustus. So, this was the link point where he had picked up the term denarius and used it for his gold coins. So, these are certain points which one has to keep in mind while studying the Kushans, and has to see several other publications which are coming up, and Kushan coins have to go a long way of researchers to come to a particular position where it will be almost unanimously accepted. So, it is a very interesting phase. Hope all of you enjoyed with me in a journey going through an overview of the Kushan coinage in the Indian subcontinent. Thank you very much.